Good morning and good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Today's webinar topic is how community development can improve project success and increase innovation. The webinar is presented via computer-based audio. If you have any issues with the audio, we've posted the alternative telephone number here, and it will be visible in the audio panel for the duration of the event. If you continue to experience issues, please let us know via the questions box, and we will assist you. We do want today's event to be interactive, so please post your questions or comments in the questions box on the right-hand side of your screen. Feel free to practice now by typing in the city you're logging in from and what the weather's like there. You can also follow today's discussion live on Twitter at CloudSpokes. At this time, I would like to introduce today's presenters. Joining us today, we have Mike West, VP and Distinguished Analyst at Saugatuck Research, Alex Bacher, Senior Research Analyst at Saugatuck Research, and Mike Morris, General Manager of CloudSpokes. And with that, Mike West, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Emily. Can everybody hear me well?
Sounds great, Mike.
Terrific. Well, look, it's my great pleasure to be here on the line presenting some information about a project that Alex and I undertook with the CloudSpokes folks, and we love to get involved in disruptive technologies, and we think that crowdsourcing and crowdsourced cloud development is definitely a disruptive trend. Let me give you a little background. I'm co-founder, vice president, and distinguished analyst at Saugatuck Technology, and we're a business research and consulting firm that focuses on these disruptive technologies and strategies, looking at the business implications rather than the technology ins and outs. I have roughly 25 years or more experience in the tech space at IT companies at John Hancock, Fidelity Investments, computer company, Apple Computer, research company Gartner, and corporate executive board, now Saugatuck. So I have been at Saugatuck from the beginning. My background before that is, a general liberal arts BA from Williams College, although I double majored in poli-sci and math, an MA in creative writing from Johns Hopkins University, and an MBA from the Boston College Graduate School of Management, and I've subsequently taught IT strategies in the MBA programs at Boston College Graduate School of Management, at the Haas School at the University of California at Berkeley. And so I guess that's enough background for me. I do speak frequently in webinars and other conference events about a range of topics, ranging from information management, data administration, application development, application integration, object technology, client server, down the line, I guess, user interface, usability strategy, portals, hubs, and communities. And today it's my privilege to be working with the guys from CloudSpokes in this webinar about how community development can improve project success and increase innovation. We'd like to start with a slide about the boundary-free enterprise and take a look at this cloud. You'll see that it has in the center of it an eco stack, which is 5 layers ranging from technology underpinnings up through infrastructure, platforms, and hubs, business solutions and services. This is our cloud eco stack, and surrounding it we can see the critical platforms that are really transforming computing today to make it boundary free: mobile, social, data analytics, and all forms of collaboration. And this, of course, is integrated with on-premises data assets as represented at the bottom. So, basically we believe that the cloud has precipitated a major change in the IT industry, and we can see it's now impacting both the vendors that provide a wide spectrum of technology solutions and the enterprises that acquire, configure, develop, and integrate that technology in order to power their businesses. And technology suppliers, platform providers, ISVs and SIs have transformed their offerings to utilize the cloud today, and the demand-driven business models arising from it. Cloud ISVs and ISVs transitioning to the cloud have launched the first few waves of cloud offerings. We're into that now, well along. It's not the beginning, but it's far from the end. And today's challenge is integrating the more advanced functionality from key cloud platforms supporting mobile social collaboration and analytics. There is no single architecture that you can go to today. No single provider can fulfill all computing needs or achieve complete control because of the unlimited diversity of potential functionality accessible via integration. Consequently, if you're going to be a successful cloud solution provider or develop solutions for the cloud, you need to know that these solutions must successfully interoperate in a loosely coupled manner with as many other solutions as possible in order to enable the maximum possible aggregate value from the combined utility. And so this really is one of the defining characteristics of cloud value and this emerging master architecture around the boundary-free enterprise. However, today many IT organizations are not equipped to capitalize on that value due to a real shortage of experienced developers with critical skill sets. And how do we solve that problem? Well, on the next slide, I offer a definition of the solution, which is crowdsourcing. Crowdsourcing is a method by which first well-defined problems may be solved, usually by the process soliciting contributions from who's going to do this work, the online community, instead of from an organization's own employees or traditional business partners. So crowdsourcing has many strands of antecedents that converge on the current notion, but one key ingredient in today's use of crowdsourcing is the cloud. The cloud is universally accessible across geographies and time zones, national boundaries, mountains, oceans, rivers, and streams, and it's an ideal medium through which to aggregate individuals with expertise in solving a particular problem. Participants in a crowdsourcing challenge may reside in Silicon Valley, Bangalore, Moscow, London, Tel Aviv, Munich. They may be students or housewives, moonlighting department store clerks, inventors. They may be any age, nationality, or ethnic group, but what they will all have in common is an understanding of the problem space and a passion for making solutions. One of the most successful uses of crowdsourcing so far is in software development. The reason for this is the nature of development in and for the cloud. Now let's consider why we think this is really a powerful resource, why it's important to think about crowdsourcing in the context of the cloud, based upon what we've learned from talking directly to people who are developing for this boundary-free cloud. On the next slide, you'll see what we have to say about cloud development, and it's in Saugatuck's recent interviews with cloud ISVs and ISVs transitioning, we've noted several essential characteristics of cloud development, and they are simply components, not monolithic applications, which these components can be combined in useful ways to make all kinds of things. APIs and integration technologies that can facilitate these combinations, and then partners with specific expertise that goes beyond the ISV or the enterprise's realm of primary competence. So in their own words, on the following slide, you'll hear what a CTO of an ISV with a vertical focus says. We build pieces and orchestrate. That's really what they're about. They're more componentized. They're not looking at monolithic apps. They want to create pieces and orchestrate, supply the parts as well as the glue. A product marketing manager for an ISV says more APIs, more wrappers, more stuff that makes all the loosely coupled reality work in as many places as possible. All the tools, all the APIs. And this is all stuff that you can tweak and test something almost immediately. Do it cheaply with cloud resources. And then the SVP from an ISV, we're looking for the right app partners. We don't want to build our own. It's too complicated, too complex, rather, especially when we get into social, links, security, data types, platform differences, social provider differences, formatting, everything. Let the specialists make that work. Our architecture is solid, and we don't want to mess with it. So why should we when we can get social as a cloud functionality? So you see the real potential here in crowdsourcing is the collaborative potential, is the potential to reach out and involve experts on an ad hoc basis to help solve problems as they arise. Why is crowdsourcing an effective solution in this context? I think there are three primary reasons. Number one, expertise. Leveraging the expertise of developers who are more familiar with a technology or a platform in the cloud. So you don't have to spin wheels getting people up to speed, spend money, time, hire people, vet them. You can go directly to a panel of people who are already experts in the technology. Efficiency, because they're there waiting, and when they're accessed, it's just a matter of days before the solution arrives. Time and cost can be reduced to an absolute minimum by using these experts. Not only that, you're going to get some energy from these experts because they really enjoy doing this kind of work. You get something more than just a dutiful execution of a particular solution. You get innovation. And still another important benefit of crowdsourcing is innovation. And we've found many of the enterprises and ISVs that we've interviewed use crowdsourcing for the creation of cloud prototypes. Now, crowdsourcing offers its clients these benefits that taken together make it a highly effective complement to in-house development or outsourcing. And we're not saying you dispense with in-house development. We're not saying you dispense with outsourcing. But we're saying that in certain contexts, the best way you can go is to crowdsource. Because crowdsourcing supplements an organization's resources and skills gaps with current expertise. You can't duplicate that. It delivers high productivity and innovation through the challenge process, and it simplifies reuse and creates more maintainable assets if you so specify. So at the core, of course, of the crowdsourcing method is the contest or the challenge. So you have to specify what you want the participants to address in the contest or challenge. And in effect, crowdsourcing makes a game out of doing work, enlisting the players and promising a reward to the one or ones with the best solution. So specifications are presented with a deadline and a solution reward attached. Now, at either end of this time-bound activity period, you have a specification or problem definition at the outset, and at the end you have a review process that sorts through the submissions and selects the winning entry. However, one distinctive feature of crowdsourcing is the way in which it may foster both competition and collaboration among competing developers. The crowdsourcing platform environment may be most effectively designed and structured to invite friendly competition and casual interaction, and this is usually through incorporating social networking interplay as the challenge is presented and clarified. In fact, when you look at the challenges, at the dialogue back and forth, in the comment stream around a particular challenge, you'll see friendly banter. Oh, is it you again? Oh, I don't stand a chance on this one. yeah, you better run and hide type of thing. And the other guy says, oh, I'm bringing it this time. I've got it. So there's the back and forth, or, is this? And they say, no, it's that. You have to go and check that out. So there is friendly banter. There's also helpful advice. The bottom line as a director of cloud development and architecture at a well-known university noted, we view crowdsourcing as a way to develop something innovative in a pretty fast manner that is also affordable. Now, I'd like to give you an example of a case study, an interview I did in depth with a guy named Eric Brown, who's a VP product management at Smartsheet, and he was looking at an opportunity. It's a familiar problem to Salesforce users who rely on spreadsheets to reconcile, collate, and update their sales pipeline data. Now, typically, the workflow begins with the export of Salesforce data into a spreadsheet. That spreadsheet is then emailed to the various regional sales heads for their updates. Then the updates are collated into a single file for re-entering into Salesforce. And of course, there can be innumerable delays in assembling the various contributing spreadsheets. Guy's out on vacation. He doesn't get around to it. It's at the bottom of his queue. He accidentally deletes it. He doesn't have the information he needs. Some guy hasn't turned in his stuff, and so on. So there's the issue of updating Salesforce when the data may have already changed as well. So Smartsheet said, hey, let's see if we can find a better solution to this, because it's everybody's headache and they always mention it as a problem. So they contacted CloudSpokes, and they wanted to see if there was a way in which crowdsourcing could solve this business problem. The CloudSpokes architect helped Smartsheet to specify the high-level requirements in a way that a Salesforce developer would recognize them, and then they submitted that as a challenge to the CloudSpokes community. And just a few days later, Smartsheet had a solution. So how did it work out? What was the solution that Smartsheet came up with? They avoid the problems associated with emailing multiple versions of a spreadsheet around by enabling collaborative updates of a single cloud-based sheet. So the various regional heads are invited to put their updates directly into that sheet, and with integration to Salesforce developed through the crowdsourcing process, the Salesforce pipeline data can be exported directly into the cloud-based Smartsheet on the way out. And then updates are made in the Smartsheet, eliminating the to and from emailing and the manual collating of all the changes and getting things in and out of sync and making mistakes and going back and doing it right. And then the updates are imported from Smartsheet via the click of a button on the Salesforce Opportunities report. And in addition, the CloudSpokes developer built a simple interface for resolving potential conflicts, letting the user choose between updates to opportunities made in either Salesforce or in Smartsheet. And so, in just a matter of a couple of days, a really innovative solution that Smartsheet was able to offer to its customers for managing this process of collating the updates that go into Salesforce. Terrific example, I think, of the power of crowdsourcing. Now, the other thing that we'd like to point out about this is that not only do you get innovative solutions, but you get highly efficient development results. CloudSpokes has in their community more than 72,000 members from over 100 countries who have completed nearly 600 development challenges. And we analyze these development challenges for their success rates and their costs, and determined that not only was crowdsourcing far more cost effective, it produced higher quality results and 60%, 62% to be exact, fewer failures than employing a full-time developer to perform the same tasks. Now, all projects incur some measure of risk just by setting out. The technology landscape is littered with project failures, and some of them running into millions and billions of dollars. We've all read about these nightmares. But crowdsourcing is an effective hedge against failure. So let's assume a full-time developer will have a 10% failure rate for any structured task. We've calculated, based upon nearly 600 of these CloudSpokes development challenges, that the observed failure rate for crowdsourcing across 10 challenges would be 3%, for which there is no cost, of course, because the challenge prize is not awarded. Conversely, the success rate for those challenges is 97%, and if this success rate is compared to using a full-time developer for the same 10 tasks with an assumed success rate of 90%, the success probability for crowdsourcing will be 62% higher. Moreover, we believe that because crowdsourcing draws on much greater specialization than, let's say, it may be possessed by the typical dedicated general programmer resource, the higher levels of expertise at work on a given project leads not only to higher quality results, but a greater degree of solution innovation. Well, okay, all that's well and good, and I'm pretty impressed that crowdsourcing might be the right way to go. How do I pick a crowdsourcing provider? It's really important to consider these 5 characteristics, we believe. Critical mass of developers for public contests, use of gamification to build and ensure retention, interactive design, including social networking, interaction design that includes social networking in the workflow, a list of recognized customers endorsing the community. You want to look for that. The focus on assets that match your needs. So it's most important, I would say, that the crowdsourcing provider attract a sufficient number of qualified developers in order to ensure that a viable solution will result. However, it's not enough to pull in a good crowd once. You want that crowd to build and stick around for a while, to belong, to develop the camaraderie and the spirit of competition that I alluded to before. And the use of gamification techniques can build a sense of membership and a sense of seniority in an elite cadre of developers. Yet you wouldn't want that at the expense of a comfortable camaraderie that the best crowdsourcing platforms attract. So the key to that is the use of social networking that enables friendly interaction, even jocular banter between friendly rivals. So look for a community that has all of that, as well as the implicit endorsement of recognized technology and business leaders among the customer list. And don't hesitate to ask for references. Finally, look for a crowdsourcing provider that has built a community of developers that can address your specific needs, your specific clouds, your specific design innovations. The next thing I'd like to bring to your attention is this statement by the CEO of a product design and testing company that is deeply involved in crowdsourcing. And I bring this to your attention because I think this really tells the story in a way that you can't get it any other way. If you're going to spend money with a developer and instead decide to do crowdsourcing, you are increasing the value of those dollars tenfold, but you also bring in people from all over the world, people who love what they do and who bring their passion to the project. And you can't pay for that. So to sum up, linking outside the box through crowdsourcing The cloud presents new opportunities and demands new expertise. We've shown that crowdsourcing saves time and money, and that crowdsourcing is a platform for innovation as well as efficiency and the aggregating of expertise. The crowdsourcing attracts passionate developers, and finally, you can't pay for that. It's really been a great privilege to work with these folks at CloudSpokes, and I'd like to conclude my remarks now, and let's hear from Mike Morris about his company and what they offer. I look forward to some questions later on in the program. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. It was a fantastic presentation. I would love to take a couple minutes and walk through a little bit of what CloudSpokes is all about. And I think I'm gonna send out to our marketing team that I think we should put a jingle behind the "You can't pay for that" slogan. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
So jump into if you guys wouldn't mind, go to the first slide there. So simply put, CloudSpokes is a crowdsourcing platform. More specifically, it's a platform for enterprises and ISVs to engage with developers to build software. So we're all about that match of developer talent with the demands that our customers have. And there are three main pieces of CloudSpokes as a business. And the first one is obviously the community. It's core to everything we do. It's 75,000 people large in over 120 countries. And the second thing is the platform to engage that community. It's not trivial. It's a pretty sophisticated set of software and technology engines that we built to engage the community, to collaborate with them, to validate the quality of the work that they do, to ensure that we pay people fairly and across 120 countries. There's a lot of complicated pieces of the engine. And then finally, it's the processes that we entail. So whether it's agile development to build a mobile application, or if it's the specific process of how to ensure security on a piece of code that comes in, there's a whole set of different process and process-related tasks that we've come up with to really make this make the model work. Next slide, please. And for those that know the industry, I'll give a little bit of context on where we fit in, because I think there's some major players out there that have really fantastic companies. UTest and 99 Designs we've highlighted here. There are others, but I think these guys have done a great job on building their own model out and very specifically identifying where they fit for enterprises and ISVs. And CloudSpokes is kind of right in the middle. So where UTest really focuses on the in-the-wild testing and, in general, the quality of the solutions before you put them into production. And then 99 Designs is much more of the front-end focus on the creativity and the innovation of the user interface. We're a blend. We're kind of in the middle of those two, with the focus is software development. So it's building applications that help companies run. Next slide, please. And a couple of core tenets that this cloud resource model brings to bear that I'll just walk through real quickly is one, it is like any cloud platform today, it's multi-tenant. And the way we use that word is a little bit different. Our customers have the ability to run their own challenges independent of other customers, ensuring the IP. But one thing that we brought to this is the ability for customers to actually have their own communities. So some of our larger customers have, or actually it doesn't matter the size, they have the desire to filter out the community base. You know, 75,000 people is great, but maybe they have some geographic constraints, or maybe there's some legal or contractual constraints that have to be managed, or perhaps it's just that they have even a captive set of people that they'd like to engage. So in our model, we can company or a services firm, anybody that's relying on software development talent, they'll know that managing capacity, or i.e. the dirty word for that, a bench, is very, very expensive and time-consuming. So the elasticity of CloudSpokes really lets that be much more fluid and more efficient, frankly. Finally, the scale is another piece. So that's probably easy to see, that you can really, especially for technologies that we do constantly, and there's around 20 different languages that we support within CloudSpokes. And the ones that we do often, our scale, we try to keep about a 10x capacity on our average run rate, so we know that we can go up and down without having a disruption in delivery. And then the process itself lends itself to component-based development. So you inherently, with us, you don't throw out a big project and just kind of hope that somebody's going to come up with a solution. We take some time, we architect it into pieces. We do and use an agile methodology for software development, so we can very clearly create a path from start to finish of a project. And then each of those pieces goes out as separate chunks to the community, and we build on it until we have the full system done. But the one thing that it really lends itself to is component-based development, which allows for reuse. So you can identify very quickly if there's something within a project that you've done before, or that's existing in the open source library, or that's existing in your own infrastructure. Those can be identified before you go down the path of actually building it. And then finally, the last one, the economics of it, is what I think is the most important here, is that you're paying for the work product and not the effort that's used in making that work product. That's kind of a key differentiator that we think is really the big buying piece for enterprises and ISVs that are looking for this type of model. Next slide, please. I'm going to dig into one of our engines that's in the technology platform. There's a few other ones, but this one's the newest to our lineup, and we've named it Thurgood. And what Thurgood is our automated quality and security review tool. So we felt that we wanted to give our competitors feedback faster than we could do on a manual review process. So we built Thurgood to help support that. So submissions come in from our community, and on a completely automated basis, they get pulled off a queue, they get unpackaged, they validate the contents of those submissions. We take the code, and then we start running it through a set of screening products that we use. So whether it's check style for the formatting and the structure of the code, we use security review of the software, the static analysis security screening, and then we use CloudBees, Jenkins, JSLint to start running all the automated tests over the software, take all the output from those tools and those tasks that we run and put them into Papertrail for our cloud storage. So this allows a very fast, fully automated, there's no manual processes to allow a competitor to essentially almost compile their submissions. So you can take an application or a piece of an application that's tied to a challenge, submit it into CloudSpokes, and get that feedback almost in real time. And then you can use that feedback, tweak your submission before the deadline. So our goal was to give feedback a lot more rapidly to the competitors. Next slide, please. And here's an example of a client that we work very closely with. So Mesh01 is a co-creation platform for product development, and specifically physical goods like footwear, sports apparel, accessories. It's a fantastic model. They use the community themselves they have a design community to help design products, build CAD diagrams on what a product is going to look like, how it's going to be built. And they also have a community on testing products that are ready to go to market and need to go almost in the wild testing for physical products. What we do for Mesh is full software product development. So we are their technology partner 100%. So when they have a solution that they need to build, they're coming to CloudSpokes, we're helping them architect it, and we're using the community to do the entire build. So it's a really great relationship with us, and there's a ton of synergies between our two companies in the way that we use communities, the way that we trust the quality that's going to come from it, and just the overall comfortableness with a new model for building anything. Where we are today with them is we've run over 50 challenges since March. It's actually March of this year, and we're in the middle of a giant build cycle to deploy a new product for them. It's I'm not gonna say what it is yet, but it's coming out in midsummer, and there's some really great stuff that's gonna be announced in the August timeframe. Next slide, please. And to sum up the company in general, here's just a couple of clients that we've worked with. I'm not going to drill into these, but just there are a lot of enterprises and ISVs that are starting to move to models like CloudSpokes. We're really excited about that, and I think it shows a sign of an innovative company. So companies like GlowCap and Box and Smartsheet and Medtronic, JDRF, DocuSign recently signed with CloudSpokes. DeVry is one of the educational space, and there's many others. But it's really cool to to see this start to produce amazing results for these companies. And I would be happy. I'm gonna finish up now, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that the audience has about CloudSpokes, about the model. So please send them in.
Great, thanks, Mike. We do have some questions that have come in, and I'd like to remind everyone, if you do have any questions, please type them into the questions box, and we will try to get to as many as possible today. Our first question is actually for Mike West. Mike, have you ever done crowdsourcing yourself? Hi, Mike. All right, actually, we're going to.
Do I have to unmute? Do I have to unmute the little microphone thing?
Yeah, we can hear you now. You're good, Mike.
Okay. I think I just dove right into the pool without seeing that I had unmuted my little microphone thing. Well, look, that's a great question, and I'm happy to be on the spot because my colleague Alex Bacher and Alex really did a lot of the statistical analysis of those projects, the competitions that I talked about before. We were kicking around how we were going to get a transcription of an interview I had done, and it was a lengthy interview. It was about an hour long, and I wanted it word for word transcribed. And Alex suggested that I try Amazon Mechanical Turk, and so we did. We chopped up the recording, which I did on a little iPhone, and sent it to and posted it on Mechanical Turk, and within 48 hours it came back fully transcribed. And it was pretty cheap too. It was $30, I think. Alex, is that correct?
That's right, Mike.
We got a fairly clean version. You always have to go over it, but yeah, I have done crowdsourcing in a limited way, but not anything like the Mesh 01 experience. My God, those guys are really something. So I think that answers the question. I found it to be a terrific experience, and I know I'm going to try it again.
Great, thanks, Mike. And another one for you. Is crowdsourcing just about technical things and platform expertise that most organizations can't afford to keep up with?
Oh my gosh. Well, look, crowdsourcing is, being applied in many different ways today. One works in that capacity, to more mundane applications like editing manuscripts or transcribing podcasts, like I was describing. opinion surveys, even things like drug discovery or missing person searches, collaborative artworks. There's a wide range of things that are now being done through crowdsourcing. Recent examples of crowdsourcing would even include things like Waze, which is a kind of up-to-the-minute travel info. If you're in the Bay Area, terrific way to get around the worst traffic jams of the moment. Kickstarter and Indiegogo are two forms of funding projects based upon using crowds. And then finally, an example of Quirky, which is consumer product development, is a crowdsourcing approach. So, and one of the companies that we interviewed for this project that Mike Morris just mentioned, Mesho One, has basically a web-based platform supporting this crowdsourcing of design and product testing in sports, sports equipment and attire, with 6,000 designers worldwide or something like that, and doing product testing with athletes and sports enthusiasts. So, there's lots of stuff going on. But crowdsourcing is actually an expression of a broader trend, okay, toward collaboration that shows in everything from asset sharing like Zipcar or Airbnb to direct lending like Lending Club or Funding Circle or Circle Up. Consumer marketplaces like Etsy or TaskRabbit or Modabound. These are, and in fact, companies like Lending Club and Airbnb and Etsy are on course to be billion-dollar publicly traded companies. So the notion of the collaborative enterprise or the collaborative way of getting something done, not necessarily owning the resources, but having access to the resources, is a very, very broad trend today. And so, I think you can expect to see much, much more of crowdsourcing in every aspect of our lives.
Great, thanks, Mike. And we're going to throw a couple over to Mike Morris now. Mike, first question, what types of technologies can Thurgood process?
Oh, great question. So we originally launched it a couple months ago on top of the Force.com platform, so Visual Force Apex, and we've since enhanced it where now it'll run pretty much anything on the Heroku platform, so all flavors of JavaScript and everything that Heroku supports, and then most recently on the Google App Engine platform. So we're definitely cloud focused, and those platforms, platform as a service providers really make this possible, whereas doing it on raw hardware and machines would be much more difficult controlling the build environments. So right now we're pretty flexible at deploying on any of those environments.
Okay, great. Another question, why do people participate?
Oh, that's a good one. So so I've been doing this for a long time. This has been my focus professionally for over 11 years now, and there are three primary reasons. And I would say, depending on the person, you're going to get a different answer which one's more important. So what the equalizer for everything is obviously money, right? So people get compensated and they can earn a fair piece of compensation for a piece of work product. And that really is market determined. So on what we pay for a piece of work. So that's obviously a big piece of it. The second one is recognition. So we kind of look at it like we take some of the really great elements behind open source, which a lot of it is recognition for contributing to things, and we kind of amp that up a little bit with gamification. So providing people with profile pages, allowing them to have a set of statistics that tie back to what they did. So this isn't a resume. This is actual work that's been completed. It's been validated. So it's a really good public way to show what your skills are as a software developer. So recognition is the second one. And then finally, the third one is the educational value that it has. Like with anything, whether it's a sport, it's a profession, it's software development, it's math. The way that you learn is you spend time, you work with, you compete against people that are better than you, and that holds true with CloudSpokes too, where a competitor can come in, they can learn AngularJS. They've never done it before. They want to learn it. Sure, they can go read a book. Sure, they can go take an exam and fill out a bunch of multiple choice questions. But the only way to really learn is by doing it. And this is a way that allows people to do things and get feedback from people that are top in the industry in that particular technology.
Okay, Mike, we're going to stick with you a couple more that have come in. This one's a bit longer. When issues occur with the production code, who is contacted to fix the issue? When an enhancement is requested to code created by the community, can the customer request for the member who created the code to be the one who codes the enhancement?
Interesting. Okay. So so everybody has the home phone and cell phone of our marketing guy. That's the first stop. So you just call him. No, I'm just kidding. So that is a good question, though, and something that I'm asked every single time. The way to look at this is let's take like a Mesh 01, who he is going to have this issue because we're putting a major system in production in a very short amount of time. And there will be enhancements. There will be bugs that come up. It's software. It's bound to happen. The way that we handle that is a couple of different ways for Mesh. And you can go back to a specific member and engage them in what's called a task. That is risky, though. I mean, you basically lose out on that 62% that Mike West mentioned in his research paper, that 62% increase in reliability is a big reason why you may want to go to multiple people again. But that's not required. Sometimes that it's easy enough. You've got an ongoing dialogue with the person. You know it's going to be done, or there's a deployment involved, and you don't want to have multiple versions. So certainly you can do that if it makes sense, and we would help a client determine whether it made sense or not. But the second thing is that as you build, so go back to Mesh, and I think we did 50 challenges. And we had hundreds of competitors from over 20 countries. Out of those hundreds of competitors from 20 countries, there's going to be a handful, called 5 to 10, that are very familiar with the system, the way it's structured, the way it's written, the different pieces to it. Those people can be put into that private community concept that I mentioned, and they can become a support arm for that application. So you can take as many as you feel like you need to have the reliability that somebody's always going to be there and ready to go. So it's still a pay-for-performance model, but it's filtered down to a few very small, a much smaller pool of resources. And then finally, for companies that some of our larger enterprises, we've got a relationship with Aperio. Aperio is a systems integrator, and they have a subscription model for supporting software that's built. So we can engage them. It's much more of your kind of traditional having a support resource that's available 24/7, somebody you can contact, help desk IT type of support. So that's a third option we have, but something that we deal with all the time.
Great. We have a very engaged audience today, Mike, so a couple more questions for you come in. Does using CloudSpokes even out the playing field in regards to payment for the developers? I've used Odesk and other freelance sites and found a huge range in the job cost or hourly fees. It's hard to make a good or wise choice when money is such a large factor. That's
an interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. Well, so those models, which are great models, also they are different. So it still is primarily a pay-for-efforts model, just put into a virtual environment. And I think they do great for a lot of particular use cases. We're just a little bit different. So ours does even out the playing field because of having multiple people do the work. So you're not consigning yourself to one particular resource. You want to make sure that you have enough people participating in your challenge that you're going to get more than one submission, that you're going to get the quality results that you're looking for. And you can determine if you have enough people very easily, and you can affect that by raising the price. So you can raise the price that you're going to pay for something. That'll attract more people to it. And then finally, I think that the key thing here that I think is the biggest differentiator, a lot of people will look at it and say, hey, you have resources in 120 countries. You know, aren't the lowest cost, where the dollar is strongest is going to be the most impactful to people, and they're the ones that are going to participate the most. And we don't find that's true necessarily. It's certainly a factor, but what's more impactful is the skill of that person. Because anybody that's been in large software development shops, you'll know that there's somebody in that group. Let's say you've got 30 people. There's a couple people in that 30 that are like 30, 40, 50 times better than the people that are sitting in a cube right next to them. There is that difference in software development that I found, at least. And those people in a model like CloudSpokes can do extremely well regardless of where they are. And it does show in our community. Our top, we have competitors everywhere. Our top two areas are North America and India. So those are two pretty different areas of the world, different economics, social economics, and I think that the bigger factor there is the skill sets that we attract.
Okay, one final question. What is the biggest work task in terms of man hours that you've seen the crowdsourcing model deliver?
If you look at it this way, crowdsourcing in our model specifically, and what I've seen effective across multiple companies, I'll kind of bundle them together, is if you can figure out to build a great brick, then projects, specifically software projects, get exponentially more difficult the larger they get and the larger your deliverables become. One way to hedge against that is by breaking things down into smaller pieces, using an agile development methodology that can get you to production much faster. So these are things that we deploy, but our focus is really on, can we build that component? Can we build that sprint? Can we finish that sprint as reliably as possible? And if we can do that, then we can build 2, we can build 5, we can build 1,000. And I don't think there's necessarily a limit to the size. There are other limits in terms of which technologies and what's accessible to communities, but I wouldn't say size is necessarily a limit if you approach it the right way.
All right, great, thanks. And that should wrap it up for us today. Thank you, Mike and Alex, for presenting. And we thank all of you in the audience for participating today and hope you found the discussion enlightening and helpful. A replay of today's event will be posted on our website, CloudSpokes.com. If you have any questions or comments about today's presentation, you can connect with us on Twitter at CloudSpokes or via email at info@cloudspokes.com. Thank you for joining us and have a wonderful day.